Jasmine Birtles is from Money Magpie, joins us now. Jasmine, good to talk. Hello.
Hello there.
Now, I can't believe £40 to £60 a week. What do you think of that?
It's crazy, isn't it? I'd really like, one thing I'd like her to do is to get a smart meter. That's something that now you can ask your utilities provider, your gas and electricity provider, to put in a smart meter for free. So at least you can watch it going round. You know, you can see, and you can see what it is that's causing this problem. Because, as you say, that's a crazy amount to be spending, and I think it's probably a mixture of being on the wrong tariff and with the wrong company, and also possibly she might have some, I don't know, maybe a few items that are using stupid amounts of electricity and she doesn't know about it.
You see, I had, of course, to ring my energy provider today and ask them to reduce my direct debit because for some strange reason they decided to put it up, even though I'm in credit. And when we had a little discussion about that, they said, yes, of course. And I said, by the way, could you put the money there, which is in credit, back into my account, which they didn't really want to do, it has to be said, but they did. And then proceeded to tell me that I should be on a better tariff. I said, well, you only told me this was the best tariff about 6 months ago. What are you talking about? What is wrong with these people?
It is crazy, isn't it? And the thing is that on the one hand, the fact that we have competition in a degree, there are about 26 providers that provide gas and electricity. So that in itself is a good thing. But having said that, it does get very confusing, and the providers themselves, they have different tariffs. They only have a few now, but really they are supposed to tell you at least once a year which of their tariffs are the cheapest. And it would be better if they just simply switched you automatically, really, to the cheapest one.
So why don't they do this, Jasmine? Why do they make it? Because you need to have some kind of degree in tariff reading, I would imagine, to actually know what you're doing.
Well, it's certainly it's easier than it was. I mean, that's the best I can say. Ofgem, I know, has been onto the companies to make it simpler. I mean, they said to them, you can only have 4 tariffs because it's ridiculous. You're having like 20 tariffs per company, and they're trying to get them to make the bills simpler. And yeah, I mean, what's a kilowatt hour? Who knows what a kilowatt hour is? So it's better than it was, but yeah. It is still tricky to understand, but then if you use a comparison site, and there are quite a few of them, you can just put your postcode in, and then they come up with a bunch of possibles, which it does make it easier. I mean, I switch my gas and electricity once a year, and it does basically take me about 15-20 minutes. So it's not that bad. But having said that, I am also aware that I'm comparing between 26 companies that are really not necessarily the cheapest, and I think they are overcharging at the moment. I've heard from a few insiders that there is an overcharging situation, and you're kind of comparing overcharging with overcharging.
I mean, this has to stop, surely. I mean, it's okay to have competition, that's great. But they should all be advertising the best deal for all of us, rather than, well, if you only turn it on at this time. And what is 1 kilowatt hour or whatever it is you said? I mean, how are we supposed to know any of this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this, to be fair to them, this is something that Ofgem is trying to address, so that they say, all right, so you spend this amount per month. Well, if you move to this one, you would spend this amount per month. So you don't have to bother with silly old kilowatt hours, which none of us really understands. And I wonder if people in the energy companies really know what they are. So it is getting a bit easier, but I think that there are still a lot of people who are on tariffs that are way more expensive than they would have expected. I mean, I'm just dealing with it with my mum at the moment. She's being charged £100 a month, and she's in a very small flat. So we've done exactly that. We've had a smart meter put in. We've switched her to another company, although, having switched her, they still said, oh, yeah, it's a lot. And I'm looking around thinking, what is it? So we think it's quite possibly 1 or 2 appliances that are old that are leaking electricity or something.
That needs to be sorted, of course, as quickly, and I'm sure you will. But there does need to be more of a simplification of this, because we're just being ripped off in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the case with a lot of financial products and consumer products. You know what it's like. You've got savings accounts with daft figures, and then they change their figures. Debt, credit cards, don't even start me on that, and loans and all of that. And then when it comes to gas and electricity, yeah, it is still too complicated. And the more complicated you make things, of course, the harder it is for the consumer to work out if they're getting a better deal or not. And also, it increases inertia, because you look at it and you think, oh, I know I should do something with it, but I just can't. So you put it away, so you carry on paying more. It's the same with insurance. I mean, there's another complicated product. And you think, oh, I know I should, but well...
Well, that's an interesting thing. I had to renew insurances this year, and they doubled. And I went on and spoke to a couple of other people, and within the course of an hour, I got it for about half what I'd been quoted by an insurance company that I had been with for 5 or 6 years. And so are they just playing around?
Yeah. Yes. Basically. Yeah, totally. It's people who will stick with them that they're making money from primarily, and there are enough people who are just thinking, oh, I can't be bothered, to make it worth their while to just carry on putting the prices up. And as you say, all you need to do, you don't even need to go on a comparison site if you can't be bothered with that. Just speak to your current provider and say, nah, I'd like a better deal than that. And I've had it, definitely, when I've gone, oh, no, that's too expensive. So see if you can get me a better deal. And they go off and pretend to speak to their manager.
And they just sort of turn around 2-3 times. Ash,
I had that with Halifax. I had insurance. I thought it was a bit expensive. I phoned them up, and they go, oh, we'll give you another quote from our subsidiary company. And it came out like half the price of what it was, and it was much better insurance. Anyway, I forgot to do it this year. It's gone back up almost double.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Same company.
It's actually hundreds that you can save, and as you say, it's a few minutes. And maybe you could get something even cheaper if you went on a comparison site. But quite a lot of the time, just getting that, just with a phone call, that'll do.
Mind, Jasmine, he's got so much money, he doesn't need to worry about that, do you?
You rattling your pet?
Yes, you don't. No. Now listen, Simon Scott's just tweeted. He said, my utility provider call themselves a broker, supposed to do the work for me, aren't they?
Well, yes, they are actually. If they are a broker, absolutely, they should be getting you the best deal. Of course, you could check them and go, oh, okay, that's the best deal. Wait for a moment, would you? You go off and go and have a look on Energy Helpline or ukpower.net or one of those, and check it out, and you might find that they're right, but you might come back and go, found a cheaper one. What's wrong with you?
Well, a lot of people say now that they, even when shopping, don't just take the first price that something is labelled with. Go to the counter and say, can you do me a better deal on this?
You look on your phone.
Absolutely.
It's amazing what you can do now.
Yeah.
It is amazing, absolutely. With gas and utility, they can't quite haggle. They can tell you what their cheapest one is, but that's the best you can get with them. But absolutely, I think with certainly with insurance, there is an ability to haggle a bit. Certainly, I mean, I've tried with my last car insurance, and to my annoyance, because I did it rather later than the letter they sent. Couldn't quite get it haggled down, but I got it haggled a little bit.
Well, if you can't haggle it down, who can?
What chance have we got?
Yes, Jasmine. I mean, honestly.
Shocking, isn't it? Who do I think I am? I know. Here I am trying to do my best, and they're like, no. And I go, oh, all right then.
So I wonder, this is something that MPs ought to address, actually, because if there are people, we know there are people who are going either without food or without heating, who are in very vulnerable positions in this world. Politicians are doing nothing about it. Why not?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I think that is that on the one hand, they do have a duty of care to the people in the country, the voters particularly, but also on the other hand, they want to have business in this country. So they've got a bit of a balancing act to do. They want to attract business, they want to keep business going, and of course, all the big companies, they're publicly listed companies. It's useful for these companies to do well. That helps our pension funds. But on the other hand, they need to help the people in the country. And I do think, though, that as with so much now, pensions, for example, are doing very well because older people vote. If people who are vulnerable don't vote, and it's the same, a lot of young people don't vote, so young people are having things taken away from them. But if more vulnerable people could possibly vote, then they would be listened to more. I really do think it comes down partly to that.
But they listen to the big companies, don't they? They get lobbied by them, and they actually get seconded to work with the government, decide on the policy. Meanwhile, apparently thousands of people die every year.
Yep.
If it was on the roads, they wouldn't tolerate it.
Very good point. Jasmine, come in and do a show with us in the studio one night.
I will. That'd be great.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Good to talk.
And you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Jasmine Birtles from Money Magpie.